We move through life doing something I like to call collecting armor. Armor is how we deal with the world. It's kind of our plot to protect us from good and bad. It's our opinions we keep to ourselves, risks we don't take because what we might lose. I'm not saying any of it is wrong. Armor exists for a reason. But at some point, armor stops being a response to something and becomes so familiar that you forget you're wearing it. And most people move through life collecting armor. Highest achievement is no longer needing it. People's armor isn't always obvious. It doesn't look like fear. It isn't always erratic. But saying I don't care when you do, or being ironic instead of sincere in moments, is definitely showing your armor. It protects you from rejection and from judgment, from being seen. And to be clear, it's not about being weak. I feel like it's an adaptation humans and society have always learned to do. At some point, it helped you survive. It protects humans early, from adolescence into early adulthood. But I feel like it can limit you as well, because although we don't celebrate effort, we celebrate effortlessness. And I've spoken to my friends about this topic and I really couldn't wrap my head around it. But the idea of the athlete who just has it, or the artist who didn't even try, or the person who walks into a room and belongs without proving it is effortless. It remains some sort of uncertainty. And there's just some type of feeling that effortless people feel above the norm. They don't play the same game that we're all playing, and the illusion isn't always as illusory as you think. It's very powerful, and I wanted to make a case study over this topic. I couldn't really pinpoint it on a particular object or particular scenario, but someone who embodies this idea heavily, in my opinion, is Kanye West. In his early life, he didn't move like the rest of humans. He's the type of person who walked into a room that nobody invited him into, and his presence made it clear that he belonged there. He was unique in the way he said things that other artists or other people in the industry wouldn't say, or they would soften it or filter it. It was his music endeavors or his fashion endeavors. What he said felt like he meant it. He never was really delaying his speech. He was speaking his mind, not protecting himself with armor. And he didn't check whether people were agreeing with him or not before he spoke. And that raw feeling is real to all people because it shows authenticity.
You see, they laughing at me. You heard them, they scream at me. They bully me. They bullied me backstage. They said, don't go out there with that hat on. They bullied me backstage. They bullied me.
And I think that's what makes him so hard to look away from. The world calls it some sort of controversy over so many years, but an unarmed person looks like in a world that expects everyone to be protected. The first example that comes to mind is the 2004 American Music Awards, when Kanye lost Best New Artist to a country singer named Gretchen Wilson. And every other nominee in the room swallowed their disappointment, and Kanye walked out on stage and let the world know that he should have won out loud and got on the record. A lot of people were calling it arrogant. He was just the only one not wearing enough armor to hide it, in my opinion. And then a year later, during Hurricane Katrina, one of the more infamous moments of his whole career, NBC put together a whole telethon. It was scripted where everyone was supposed to be reading their lines.
If you see a black family, it says they're looting. See a white family, it says they're looking for food.
And as we all have grown to know, Kanye goes off script entirely and says on live television what a lot of people were feeling, but nobody in that room was supposed to say.
George Bush doesn't care about black people.
But watch that clip again. He wasn't performing. He was just unprotected in a room full of people who weren't. 2009, the VMAs, where he walked on stage during Taylor Swift's acceptance speech and said that Beyonce deserved it.
Yo, Taylor, I'm really happy for you. I'm gonna let you finish. But Beyonce had one of the best videos of all time. One of the best videos of all time.
That is socially catastrophic and career damaging, especially in that type of room. Nobody in that room would dare to do something like that. Kanye didn't have any type of calculation when he did that. That was a reaction to the feeling he was having. And all those people in that room spent their entire lives building armor to never do something like that. And he had transcended it already at that time in his life.
We talk to you, Kanye? What's going on, man? What was up with all that stuff? You want to just squash all that? Because you're a cool guy. No, come on, Kanye, be cool, man. I mean, what's going on? Why can't we talk to you? I mean, why? I mean, no, come on, Kanye, I don't want to fight with you.
Now, just because I'm leading you to believe that Kanye is armor free, that doesn't mean he's consequence free. Because when we're cornering him at LAX and he went after the photographer, his unfiltered human reaction to being hunted in that moment, most of the celebrities, what do you think they would do in that situation? At most, they may say some combative sentence to stop, but 9 times out of 10, they're going to smile through that situation with the armor they built. They wear that smile like their armor. He never learned how to do that, and I don't necessarily know if it's learned, but he never chose to live his life in a way where he needed that.
And what happened last week with the Make America Great Again hat? What are you trying to do with the message you're sending?
Well, it was really just my subconscious. It was a feeling I had. Like, people were taught how to think, we're taught how to feel. We don't know how to think for ourselves. We don't know how to feel for ourselves. People say feel free, but they don't really want us to feel free. And I felt...
Or when he said slavery sounded like a choice. Those thoughts that he had, ain't nobody saying that out loud, especially if they're not a complete statement that they know they can defend, right? Almost none of them say that on camera. The armor of self-editing exists for a reason. We all do it for a reason, and without it, you're exposed to a lot of what you're wrong about as well. When he ran for president without any strategy or any infrastructure set up for that plan, the man was himself when he expected everyone to take him seriously as he was taking himself. And that is something that most people are way too protected to ever do, right? Which is, it's admirable, but until it isn't, because although Kanye can be a very profound intellectual thinker, musician, artist, whatever title you want to give him, he definitely has some dissonance that he's experienced, and some of the things that he promotes directly neglects a lot of the movement he wants to do. So that's where it gets a little muddy when you want to follow some of the things he says that are controversial. But that's a part of the theatrics that come with being someone like him in this case study, and someone who doesn't have the armor that most people neglect themselves to. I think that's the part of this idea that gets missed a little bit. We as a group romanticize the unarmed person, and there are real moments where Kanye earns that, where his willingness to be completely exposed produces something the rest of us couldn't imagine. The music, the fashion, the moments where he said something true in a room full of people pretending. But that goal was never just to take the armor off. The goal is to build something underneath it first. So when the armor comes off, what's left is stable. It's grounded and free. A little less reckless than Kanye, I would like to think. It's the guy without a phone case that isn't fearless. That's at peace with what happens if he drops his phone and breaks. I think that's the difference in this whole thing. Most of us are walking around managing the feeling of risk more than the risk itself. And the armor we built to survive adolescence, to get through early rejection, or to protect ourselves from being seen at some point, it stops serving you as an individual and as a group. And it becomes the shape you've learned to hold. So that's why I say the highest achievement isn't fearlessness. It's not chaos or some sort of unjust. It's saying everything you think that moment you think. You doing the internal work until the armor becomes optional. Until you put it on, but you don't need it.